Hello, my holy friends. It is such an honor and privilege to be here with you today. I am Rabbi Jhos Singer, and I just want to extend my deep gratitude to my dear friend and colleague, Reverend Penny Nixon, for inviting me to share some words today about faith beyond the boundaries, beyond the barriers, beyond the borders. And when I pondered that theme, I thought immediately of a profound experience of faith that I had 27 years ago in the Kidron Valley of Jerusalem. I had been part of a pilgrimage for several months that had started in Auschwitz in Poland, and we walked about 20 miles a day. It was the International Interfaith Pilgrimage for Peace and Life, commemorating the end of World War II. Began in Auschwitz and would end 9 months later in Hiroshima. And I participated in the first 3 months, walking across Europe through literally the war zone of the Balkan War, and arriving in Jerusalem, where we then walked various places in the Holy Land. So one day I was with a friend, a woman named Katrin, and we were walking back from the old city to where we were staying in East Jerusalem. And you could either go on the road, which took you way around like this and took about an hour and a half, or you could cut through the Kidron Valley, which is a very, still to this day, goats and things like that. So we were going to go that way. That's how we always went. It took us quite a bit shorter, and we'd been walking a lot. So we had been getting all of our exercise. We didn't need any more steps. So we were walking, we went down, and we were on our way up. And we were about halfway up the other side of the valley when all of a sudden a group of young men surrounded us. They demanded money. They were extremely imposing, muscular, and young. And, they were basically robbing us. Now, I had been practicing for 2.5 months, filling my heart with compassion, listening to people's stories all across Europe, Holocaust survivors, former Nazis, people who were in the midst of a trauma in the Balkans. And I experienced a moment of profound faith. I had faith that what the ringleader was really in my face, and he was yelling, "Give me money, give me money, give me this, give me that." And I had profound faith that it wasn't my money. It wasn't my material wealth or anything like that he wanted or could use. What he needed was my compassion. He needed to be witnessed in his suffering. So that's what I did. I just locked eyes with him. I just looked into his eyes, and he looked into my eyes. And yes, he was demanding, and the other guys were kind of muscling around and kind of making a show of how big and tough they were, which they were big and tough. And at some point, the ringleader reached down, picked up a large rock, and held it like this, threatening me and saying, "Money, give me money." And I looked at him and I said, no. And we connected and we intertwined. I could feel it. I could feel our spirits intertwining. I could see the holiness in him in that moment. And I know he could see the holiness in me. And I know that because after locking like this and being in this checkmate for a few moments, he threw the rock down. He sputtered a few very salty words, and then he scampered down the path and was followed by his posse. I've thought about that moment. That was a moment of faith beyond every boundary, beyond every barrier, beyond every border I can imagine. We connected in the place of God. That place of God that is within each and every person. And when I think of it, I think that was a moment, it was one of my personal finest moments, because it was a moment when I literally was living according to one of the Torah's most profound and simple statements. V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Now, this line, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, you shall love your neighbor as yourself, is often quoted. In fact, it's been famously misquoted or tweaked by Rabbi Hillel the Elder, who when he was asked by a young guy, if you can teach me your whole Torah while I stand on one foot, I'll convert. And Hillel didn't drop a beat. He said, yeah, what is hateful to you, don't do to other people. That's the whole Torah. The rest is just commentary. Now go study. And one of his disciples, a generation or so later, your Rebbe, Jesus of Nazareth, he tweaked it in a different direction. He said, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. This is all built off of this foundational Torah teaching of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. But most of the time, people don't tell the rest of the lead-in to that punchline. The lead-in goes like this. I even bothered to write it down for you. Well, I wrote it down in my own kind of tweaky way, but here you go. It starts in chapter 19 of Leviticus with a little preamble, and then it goes, honor your parents, observe the Sabbath, I am God. And then it says this interesting thing in Hebrew. It says, the way you mostly will see it translated is, your God. I am God, your God. But if you look at the Hebrew, one could translate it as, I am God, the God of you. And I'm going to translate it that way because I think when we look at these verses through that lens, we get a whole different picture by the time we get to our punchline. Honor your parents. Observe the Sabbath. I am God, the God of you. Don't turn to or make idols of metal. I am God, the God of you. Make sacrifices, peace offerings. Make them wholeheartedly. Don't hold back or hesitate. Leave the corners of your fields unharvested and wind fallen fruit on the ground for the immigrant and the poor. I am God, the God of you. Do not steal, speak falsely, or lie to each other. Do not swear disingenuously in my name. It's a desecration of the God in you. I am God. Do not cheat or rob each other. Don't withhold wages, even overnight. Don't curse the deaf. Don't put stumbling blocks before the blind. Be in awe of the God in you. I am God. Do not pervert justice. Do not show favoritism, either based on poverty or wealth. Render justice righteously. Do not gossip. Do not stand by idly when blood is being shed. I am God. Do not harbor hate in your heart. Reprove wrongdoing, lest you sin passively. Do not take revenge. Do not bear grudges against your people. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am God. That's where that line comes from. All of these ways of being in the world intercut with reminders that God is within and without us. This harkens back to Genesis, where we are told that we are created in the image of God, in the likeness of God, as a reflection of God, that God is both within and all around us. The question is, have we learned to see it? The question is, do we have faith that that part of us that is God is true? Do we believe that when we act in the world, we are acting from a place of holiness? Or do we believe that we are acting from a place of such brokenness, such degradation, that we are only primed to do evil and to do sin? That's a deep question. That is a deep question. But I think that what the Torah is telling us is that every choice we make is an opportunity to bring out that godliness that we uniquely carry in us. That spark of the divine that animates us. That little bit of creativity that is part of the Creator. And I think that is what happened in the Kidron Valley 27 years ago between me and a young man. I think in that moment, really and truly, one of the highest moments of my life, in that moment, we were able to look past our fleshy brokenness. We were able to look past all of the easily corruptible ways that human beings can be fouled. We were able to look past our suffering, our pain. We were able to look past our gender, our religion, our skin color, everything, and look right into the heart of the matter, which is God. Everything is God. In that moment, everything was God. It was so easy. It was so easy to just love him. And I think it must have been easy for him to love me back. Because he had made a pretty big threat. He had a lot to walk back in that moment, and he did. That's love. That's compassion. That's care. Every day we don't encounter those opportunities to go that high, go that deep. But in little ways, can we foster the ability to transcend the external boundaries and to look past all of the outside clutter and noise of each other and look straight in and see that little spark of the divine? I think we can, my friends. I think that's the essence of faith. That's the essence of belief. And I want to bless us all to find that spark in the mirror and in each other's eyes. V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Love your neighbor as yourself. Thank you.
Hareini makabel alai et mitzvat haBorei ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha l'reacha kamocha.
I hereby accept upon myself the desire of my Creator to love my neighbor as I love myself. Hareini makabel alai et mitzvat haBorei ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha
haBorei ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha l'reacha